Plant versus animal protein, right? We got to switch from the nasty plant or that nasty animal food, the nasty animal foods that you can actually feed your family off on your own land. Those nasty animal foods that are so mean, they're so racist, they're so bad. You got to switch from that to from those animal foods to plant protein. That's highly processed, that's monocropped, pesticide fortified, very profitable for these huge corporations as well.
I want to ask you about protein. Is there a difference between, is protein, or is there a difference between plant-based protein and animal-based protein?
Oh,
Pop quiz. Anybody remember this lady? Anybody remember this lady? She's in one of my edits. This is the lady that was talking about, she did the TED Talk about reducing the human population.
Or will it stop growing because people choose to have smaller families? And by smaller families, I mean one-child families.
Animal-based protein.
Oh, critical differences. So it's not just about the quantity of protein. There are different relative ratios of different amino acids in animal versus plant protein,
and the stuff in plant protein isn't really bioavailable and is available in the wrong ratios, and different sources of protein and plant proteins are going to have terrible ratios for human absorption. Many of them are not a complete protein. Let's see how he dances around this.
It comes in a different package. And so for
check out how it seems like he changed the hue. You could see his ceiling there. It's not really white. I think his ceiling is probably white, but he changed it so it's like a blue color. But his whole face is still washed out. Like people talk about, vegans aren't pale and sickly, right? I don't know. I'll let you guys make that decision for yourself. You think vegans are pale and sickly, but I can't even see this dude's eyes. The whole face is washed out, but you can see everything on his gray and white ceiling pretty clearly.
For example, you go to the Harvard School of Public Health and nutrition page, very clearly states that plant protein sources are preferable, and their argument is food is a package deal. Food comes all together. So yes, there's calcium in dairy. Yes, there's iron in beef. Yes, there's protein in pork. But think about all the baggage that comes along with those nutrients. I mean, the food industry loves to talk about nutrients. That's why you can get a box of Fruit Loops that says now with vitamin D, right? Trying to give it this kind of health halo. But instead of focusing on nutrients, you have to focus on what are the foods we're actually eating. So as much as burger.
So nutrients don't really matter because, Big Food puts nutrients on the back of their labels. So, coming at you on the treadmill from hell, Dr. Greger already said nothing. It's almost a quarter. It's a little bit over a quarter of the way through this video. Said nothing. Come on, Dr. Greger, get to the point, dude.
King says you can have it your way. You can't be like, I'd like a burger, I'd like the iron in the burger, but hold the saturated fat and the cholesterol and the hormones, etc. Same thing with dairy. I'd like the calcium, but, I don't want the saturated butterfat, etc. Whereas if you get your calcium from, dark green leafy vegetables, for example, then instead of the baggage,
dark green leafy vegetables. So dark green leafy vegetables, when you get calcium from something like spinach, right? You look at the amount of calcium that's on spinach. It's not so straightforward. There's also what's called oxalate in spinach. Spinach is one of the worst forms of calcium out there because all that calcium is actually bound up in the oxalate there. Right? First of all, it's in this matrix of indigestible fiber. You see it come out the other end. Most of you are not digesting that spinach. And second of all, there's also something called oxalate in there, oxalic acid. Oxalic acid can bind up to the calcium and creates calcium oxalate crystals, which can create kidney stones. You see tons of these ex-vegans leaving the vegan movement after doing their stupid-ass green smoothies for so long, and they've got freaking kidney stones. What do you know? All right, spinach is not. Kale, dark green leafy vegetables are not a good source of either calcium or protein, which is the question he's supposed to be answering. This lady asked you about protein, dude. You know your way around in a couple circles and you're talking about calcium now, but you're not mentioning bioavailability of these nutrients at all. You're just saying, oh, well, the calcium, dark leafy green vegetables, or Slippy's lentils. I mean, I don't know. Let's see if he goes anywhere with this, but what do you guys think? You think we're going to get a straight answer about protein sources from Dr. Greger?
You get the bonus. All of a sudden, you get the fiber and the folate and the iron that's not found in dairy. And so you get this plethora. So that's why it's important to see what kind of package that comes in. So
you're gonna get iron. You're gonna get iron. Leafy greens are a great source of iron, right? If you're anemic, right, which some of the signs of anemia are muscle wasting, looking pale, gaunt, and emaciated, right? So we should definitely listen to this guy about how to avoid that, yeah?
That's why it's better to get all your macronutrients from plant sources, because you get all those, you get less of the deleterious nutrients of concern, such as sodium and saturated fats, trans fats, dietary cholesterol. And you get more
saturated fats. All right, look, trans fats, you're getting that from the margarine. You're getting that from the fake stuff. There's actually CLA, which is a trans fat that's in dairy that's actually known to be very, very beneficial. And with these processed trans fats you're getting in the meal replacement stuff, those are awful for you. So this guy's saying, oh, you're not going to get things that are bad for you. And then he names essential nutrients. Sodium. We need sodium. If you don't get enough salt, you're going to be leaching minerals from your bones. You'll leach magnesium from your bones, calcium from your bones, if you don't have sufficient sodium to make up that delicate required micronutrient balance, electrolyte balance rather, in your blood. So he says, the bad saturated fat, your body stores saturated fat and monounsaturated fat. And when you're eating a big fat steak, it's highly bioavailable, but it's also very easily digested. And this guy's telling you instead, eat the industrial corn. Right? And then you try to use factory farming, so-called factory farming, as a straw man, when the same corporations, the same big corporate interests that run the international grain trade are the ones that created the feedlot system that fattens up the animals on corn and soy before slaughter. That corn and soy is not grown to feed the cattle. Most of that is inedible stuff that's left over after you press it for soy oil. Right? It's all this GMO shit that's creating dead zones in the ocean. Big corn, right? Monsanto, Bayer Monsanto, Cargill, Tyson Foods. These huge corporations stand to make more money selling you the corn directly than they do feeding it to the cattle that are actually owned until they go to the feedlot by pesky little rural people that they want to get rid of. And this dude tells you he's a warrior for justice, yet he promotes literal rural genocide and promotes a diet that is genocidal, not just through making you infertile, anemic, nutrient deficient in various ways, making you more prone to infection by having low cholesterol, making you more prone to risky and violent behavior. What do we see right now with all these little Antifa soy boys out on the street? I know it's not just Antifa soy boys. There are a lot of people out in the streets right now doing stupid shit. But who's known to instigate these things? To go up and break the windows on the buildings? Who's known? Who did this every May Day in Santa Cruz for like the last 20 years? Those little black bloc Antifa soy boy dorks screaming about social justice. If you have low cholesterol, you're more likely to engage in risky behavior.
More of the good stuff. But even if you extracted the protein out, compared like whey protein to pea protein or something, where there is no package, it's literally just the protein, there's still a different effect on the body. So for example, there are specific amino acids, branched chain amino acids, as well as methionine, that increase IGF-1 levels, for example. Your liver pumps out more IGF-1, you eat more of these specific amino acids found predominantly in animal protein. And IGF-1, insulin like growth factor 1, is a cancer-promoting growth hormone, probably why dairy so increases prostate cancer risk. And it's because of the amino acid profile of animal proteins, and that's why for life extension, decreasing cancer, methionine restriction, or switching over to plant-based sources of protein like legumes would be better in terms of decreasing one's risk of these growth hormone-associated cancers.
Okay, so doesn't really explain anything except he tells you you're gonna get cancer if you eat meat, right? Meat, bad. Meat's gonna give you the cancer.